And you can see all of the information we filled in the wizard, or that it filled in for us, is up here. And in fact, if I refresh my document down here, you see that it actually populated all of that information right in there for me. So now it's an original application for the compound MS-RO01. Notice it doesn't have an application number because the wizard didn't ask me to supply that. And in fact, I'm going to show you when we turn this over to our reviewer how the reviewer can fill that in. In the meantime, I'm just going to close. And it's going to prompt me first to save, and then it'll prompt me to check in. So that's nice that it always remembers that you need to save it. And it also, it's nice that it prompts you to check in. You can leave it checked out if you still want to do more work on it. But in this case, I'm going to add a check-in comment, added initial information. We can make this required. We can make it optional. And it is recorded. It can be recorded in the audit log if you want it to be. So now I have my document, and I'm ready to send it for review. And now you can see if we refresh this page, we'll actually see that it has gone up to version 0.2 here. So let's go. I'm going to show you how we're already in the folder, but if I was just entering my site on the main page, it's now been added to my list of recent documents here, and I can work with it right from my main page. So what I'm going to do is to send it out for a review via a workflow, and I do that from my advanced control menu, lifecycle operations, and I'll start the review stage. And once I start the review stage, it's actually doing a few things here. You saw me update the document fields, but it would do that automatically. It's turning track changes on for me, which is really nice. And it's about to start a review workflow. And the review workflow you're going to see here is really, it's not even necessarily a typical workflow. It's really meant to illustrate some of the types of things you can do in a workflow. So in my case, I set one or more reviewers. So I'm going to add a reviewer called Jane Doe. And I could, if I chose, set a number of days before the document gets delegated to someone else and say that who I wanted that person to be. If I leave it blank, it won't delegate. And that's, so that's just one example of workflow design. You can set up many things here. You don't have to set any of this. The delegation, you could set a due date instead that's just communicated to the person. There's all sorts of things we can do in the workflow and lifecycle. And down here, below here, what you see is just a graphical representation of the workflow. So all of this is read-only. I can't change it. And it can be completely ignored, or if the person really wants to understand what's going to happen next, then they have the ability to look down here. And what it's telling me here in this particular case is, in parallel, it's going to request that Jane review this document. But if I had also indicated that I wanted to delegate to someone after a certain period of time, it starts a timer, and after that timer expires, if Jane hasn't finished her task, then that task will be moved on to somebody else, and there'll be notifications sent out to Jane, to the workflow initiator, and to the person who just got the workflow instead of Jane. So that's, again, just an example of the kind of flexibility we have in these workflows. I'm going to click Start, and that will send Jane an email notification that she has a new task. And as soon as this is done, we're actually going to log in as Jane and see her email and her task. So I'm back, and the document is now in review here. I'm going to close my browser and start over again here. And first thing I'm going to do is go to Jane's email. And excuse me just a moment here. So Jane's email is sent to a generic account for us, but this would be, of course, a real account. And here's my new notification. And it says, review required for cover letter. So this is all, again, completely configurable. It's giving me lots of information about the document, and it lets me go right to the review task. So if I click here to open my review task, it'll prompt Jane to log in here. Again, the prompt might not happen on your system. It's possible to just have it follow through on your network account. and it'll take me right to my task. So here it will give me the ability to add comments, to delegate the task, and that's configurable. And down here it gives me loads of information about the document, all of the properties, and it lets me look, I could look at the workflow status, so if I wanted to see who else was reviewing this document, I can click there. I'm just going to go, we're getting short on time, so I'm going to go straight to the task, the document. Okay, so here's the document, and I can check it out from here as Jane. And for example, I can go back and I'm going to add that missing property. So if I go to my properties, show the panel, this time I'm going to add my application number. And I'm also going to fix this typo here just so you can see that it automatically turned on track changes. Now if I update this, it's going to show me the new application number in there. So it's tracking changes and letting me make updates. I'm going to save and check in. And I'm all done here, so I'm going to say still needs some content and click OK, and that's the end of the review task. And what we'll see now momentarily is that now this is back to me being Kathy, got an email saying that the review's done, and here's the reviewer's comment. So here's what Jane just said, still needs some content. Now if I go back in as me, right on my front page here, there's my document. Now, normally what I would do here, of course, is to go in and incorporate Jane's comments. But because we were running out of time, I'm going to just assume we do that. By the way, if we look at our version history, we would see now that here's my original document. Here, I sent it out for review. Jane checked it out, changed the application number, and it was down 0.3 after that. We're now ready to send it out for approval. So we would do a similar sort of process here, lifecycle operations, and I'm going to send it to the approval stage. At this point, it turns off the track changes, and it's converting the document to a PDF. And a nice feature there is that we've studied all of the regulations on PDF, and we're set up out of the box to comply with the regulations of ICA, FDA, EMEA, Canada, etc. in generation of PDFs, so you don't have to really worry about doing that. Your PDF will be compliant out of the box. And once we've got our PDF, that's actually what we're going to sign off on. And so you'll see here what I'm going to do is to set up the designated approver. And of course, we have a lot of flexibility there too. We're only going to show one approver for, in the interest of time, but we could have multiple approvers. We can have them be sequential. We can have them be parallel, and we can control, of course, who signs in what role and so forth. So here it's just asking me. It's very general. It's asking me for a generic approver, and I'm going to add somebody named John Miller. And if I just go Miller here, it'll find all the Millers in my book, which is nice, of course, if you have a lot of people in your Active Directory. And I'm going to go to this guy, John Miller. And that's who will get the approval task, and we'll see it's going to be a digital signature task. Again, I'm not going to go through all the details of this workflow. It's a sort of an artificial just for demonstration. But what it's saying here is if this is a cover letter, then I want a digital signature on my cover letter. If it was a different type of document, it would actually just ask for an electronic approval. And while this isn't a completely realistic example, it does show you that we can trigger different types of signature processes for different documents. And I'll go ahead and start this one. And John would also receive an email notification, but this time I'm going to show you how he would process, if he was already in NextDocs, how he would process this task from his main page instead. So Jane clicked on her email, went right there. John is going to, let's see, demo, is going to go right to his home page instead. Try that again. Dear. That looks better. Okay, so John has his task here, which is the approval for this cover letter. So he could, right from his main page, he sees what's on his to-do list, and he's going to go to this task. And similar to last time, we see a box pop up here where he can look at all the properties of the document. He can launch the document here, and this time it's going to be the PDF. And just one thing I wanted to show you before he signs is we have a, I'm going to make this bigger, we have a signature block here that's empty right now. So that's where John's signature will appear after he signs the document. So I'm going to say that I approve the document. At that point, it'll pop up a box that will ask me for my digital signature credentials. And it also asks me, of course, to be Part 11 compliant, it asks me for my reason for signature. So I'm going to say I'm the regulatory approval for this document. And when I click OK, my signature will be embedded into the document. And the document, by the way, since it's undergone a successful approval workflow, will also move to be a submission-ready document that could be put into a publishing stream at this point. So if I go here now, let's go to our, navigate to our document this time. And we'll see that it now appears as a submission-ready document. Here's my PDF and Word. They're kept in lockstep, so they're both submission-ready. And if I were to look, for example, at what I could do with this Word document, we'll see that most of those menu options have disappeared because I can no longer do anything to a document that is approved. I can't edit it, check it out, things like that. And if we look at the PDF, we will see the signature on it now. So here, I know it's pretty small. It's not very well formatted in this case. That's just a formatting issue. But we will see that's John Miller's signature now, his digital signature that's appearing in here. And the loop is closed by the fact that the originator got an email message saying that the document was now approved. So if I go back in as me, I would have gotten a message that it was approved. In our case, publishers get a message as well. Here it is. And if we want to take just 1 second to look at the audit log, which is my final thing I'm going to show you today, then we'll see all of the events that happen to this document over its life cycle. So our audit log comes up, and we have information about the document, all of the check-ins and approvals that were done with the document. And this is a nice audit log that can be filtered and sorted. It can be exported to Excel and so on. So my document is done now, ready to be dragged into a submission. And we do partner with all of the major submission vendors, the major publishing vendors, and our systems are in use with all of the major tools. So if you go with the NextDocs regulatory document management system, you can have confidence that your document management system will work smoothly with your publishing tool, and you won't have to make additional investments in a publishing tool.